It's all about having the right mindset. And that's it, Mike. New capital raisers ask me all the time. They say, Jay, what do I need to do first? What do I need to do first to start raising capital? First thing you got to do is you got to own the real estate between your ears and get it straight in your mind that you're not chasing people or trying to talk them into anything. You're just offering a possible solution to them earning higher rates of return safely and securely. And you position yourself as the expert. Again, 47 private lenders never heard of this world. And they're just ecstatic that they're earning these kinds of rates of return.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast. I'm the Big Mike Zlotnik, and today it is my pleasure and a privilege to welcome back Jay Conner. Hey, Jay.
Hello there, Mike. Thank you so much for inviting me to come back and talk with your audience about how passionate I am about private money, how to raise private money without ever asking for it. And I'm so glad to be back.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. You are kind of like one of these foremost experts in raising private money for notes, for deals, for real estate in general. You do real estate in North Carolina, right? If I remember correctly.
Yep, Eastern North Carolina, Morehead City, Atlantic Beach, right here on the coast, at the southern tip of the Outer Banks.
That's right. You have that wonderful, I don't know what's the word for it, dialect. It's the, I guess that's how they talk in the Eastern North Carolina.
That's how we talk, man. I can't get rid of it.
Oh, but it's wonderful. It sounds very sweet. So that's great to hear. So what's new and exciting? What's been, I mean, it's been a few years since you came on a podcast. So what has changed? What's been really interesting in your world?
Yes. Well, what I've discovered, Mike, is that there's more private money available now for any kind of real estate asset class than I've ever seen before. People don't know what to do with their money. We take on the philosophy of being an educator. So my wife, Carol Joy, and I, we've had as many as 47 private lenders, individuals, just human beings, loaning us money, investing in our deals from either their investment capital and or their retirement funds that they've moved over to a self-directed IRA. And so none of my 47 private lenders ever heard about this world of private money until I put on my teacher cap, which says private money teacher. So none of them ever heard about this world until we started educating them on what it is, how they can get high rates of return safely and securely. So in answer to your question, if you're listening to this show, just know that there's more private money available than I've ever seen before. Trillions of dollars just sitting on the sidelines in people's retirement accounts. And money is not the issue today. If there's any issue, it's finding the deals. And of course, we talk about how to do that as well. But there's no reason to miss out on any deals because you don't have the funding. Between Mike and his Tempo funding and private lenders, plenty of money. Are you seeing the same thing, Mike? Plenty of money out there?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I almost wanted to say I will beg to differ because things have changed a little bit in the commercial real estate space. So maybe you're seeing great private money supply in your neck of the woods, in your small ecosystem. And I'm not questioning what you're saying. I'm just saying that what has happened in the industry is that there's been a lot of investment in multifamily, as you know, right? Multifamily syndications, and there's been massive reset. So multifamily got devastated with a market reset. And if it's not a complete loss of money, the money is stuck and it's sitting and waiting and hoping that one day it'll get out of these difficult deals. So that's scarred investors. That is essentially stuck money or lost money. On top of all that, you've got stock market that's just been doing great. For whatever reason, it's been in a bull run, AI driven, Magnificent Seven. So I don't have to tell you, you know what's going on. It's just been doing really well. So people are complacent. They're doing well. It's almost like they have to be thinking to diversify themselves naturally, to get the money out of the stock market, to get the money into the new deals. We have a lot of great deals in the industrial space, open air retail, but investor sentiment, just hard to find new investors. So maybe you and I need to partner up in some ways, because you know how to get the money.
Right.
We've got great deals. It's gotten harder, I have to say. That's my observation.
Sure. Well, and of course, this world of private money is not institutional money. These people have not been
agreed. By the way, we're not talking about institutional money, which is a
Right.
world of its own.
Yeah,
Getting
exactly.
institutional money is much harder, in a very different world, for sure.
Yeah. So I've never invested in multifamily, so I haven't felt that pain as to what's happened in the market. I've never done syndication. So all the private money that I raise and my students raise all across the nation is specifically for single family houses. And we don't syndicate. Everything is asset backed debt or one offs. And so you've got individuals. And so, the average, I've got private lenders that have only $50,000 with me. I've got other private lenders that have over $1.25 million with me. And of course, their investment capital is spread over different properties. One property may only have $250,000 or $300,000 of private money lent against it. Another one may have $500,000. So I think part of the difference between what you've been seeing, Mike, and what I've been seeing is the asset class.
Yeah, understood. So you're talking about mostly fix and flip projects in residential houses, just basically some kind of investment houses, maybe they will be sold to a owner occupied or maybe sold to an investor at the end of the day, but they are still residential properties in a fix and flip type of environment. Hard money loans, that's the best way to describe it. You're calling it private money or hard money, they're interchangeable.
Yeah. Most of the hard money that I've been exposed to, it's still institutional money where you got a broker that's loaning that out. And with private money, as I say, we're talking a one-on-one transaction with no broker in the middle.
Yeah. So to you as a borrower, private money is less expensive because you're not dealing with a middleman.
Yeah.
To investors.
It's 8%, no points.
So that's that's less expensive than the hard money. So if you're borrowing at 8% and no points, that is significantly cheaper than hard money, which would be, let's call it 12% in this environment and a few points.
Exactly. Big difference. Yes.
So that makes sense. And then essentially you teach people, part of your programs, how to go raise that money from private folks who don't know about how they can get 8% yield. It sounds way better than what the bank pays you.
Right.
Just give us a standard spiel. How do you talk to them? But your spiel is very simple. It's private money, private real estate secured by the first deed of trust, the first mortgage, right? Just remind folks.
That's right. And so, where do you find these people? Well, there's three categories of where these people are. The first category is your own contacts. They're in your cell phone. You got really three categories: your social circle, which does include coworkers if you have a W-2 job. And then there is your professional circle, CPAs, real estate attorneys, realtors, etc., professional circle. And they are gatekeepers of money. So those end up being great referral sources. And then the third circle is your service circle. Who do you see people all the time that you're giving money to? The owner at the dry cleaners, who you buying your cars from, etc. So those are your current contacts, right? The second bucket is what I call your expanded warm market. Because if you want to scale your business, you're going to run out of your own contacts sooner or later. So how do you expand those contacts? So I teach my students all across the nation how to blow up your network. One great way to do it is get involved in a local business networking international chapter, also known as BNI. Ivan Meisner created that back in the 1980s. And being involved in those groups, those people are looking for leads and they're looking to give you leads as to who you're looking for. So as a BNI member, this is not a social network, that's secondarily, but it's to do business. So I've gotten millions of dollars from being an active member in BNI, where my fellow BNI members would refer me potential lenders that are looking for a higher rate of return than less than 3% at the local bank in a certificate of deposit. The third category of private lenders are existing private lenders. These are individuals that are already loaning money out on real estate. And of course, for those people, I'm not going to be educating. They're already loaning money out. They know what private money is. So it's interesting.
Stop you for a second. Let's just dissect this a little bit. So if you, again, BNI, I've heard of the BNI. I'm not sure whether it makes any sense in every market, but it sounds like where you're at, it's an effective, efficient way to connect with folks that might help you bring capital. The other quick question, people who are professional lenders today already, don't they charge more than 8% interest rate?
Yes. So you're not going to be offering 8% there. Like when I offer 8% to people that have never heard of this world, then all they're comparing 8% to is what they can get in the local bank, which is more than twice, more than double, right? But existing private lenders, that's going to be a negotiation conversation. That's going to be, what are you accustomed to getting, and et cetera. 70% of account holders at self-directed IRAs, they want to lend money out to, real estate investors. And so most of those people are going to be wanting 10%, 12% in that area, along that line. And a lot of them are not going to be charging as much as hard money, but it's going to be in between the private lenders that didn't know anything about it and an institutional hard money lender that's a broker.
Yeah, that's a very simple approach, of course, talking to existing lenders. And there are plenty of smaller lenders in every market, right? So there are plenty of non-national players. Obviously, national players, you're dealing with almost a corporate multi-billion-dollar fund or hundreds of millions of dollars fund. Obviously, own sphere of influence, I agree with you 100%. That's one thing that we all should do better, is be able to contact our friends and family and tell them what we do. And so how do you tell them? What's your story? How do you let people know whenever you connect? How do you sell them without selling?
Exactly. So if I'm just having a casual conversation, if I'm having a coffee or lunch with someone or whatever, then what I do is it's just part of your visit. It's just part of your connection. And so the first thing that I do is diagnose whether they even have a problem. The definition of malpractice is offering a prescription before there's a diagnosis. So here's one way I diagnose. Mike, let's just say you and I are having a visit, or we're having lunch, or we're doing a coffee, or we're at the water cooler at the day job. And here's what I would say. I'd say, by the way, Mike, with what's going on in the investment markets these days, it's a little crazy. What are you investing in, if anything, that's giving you a high rate of return? That's my question. That was just a direct question. I'm diagnosing, are you happy with your investments if you're investing in anything? Well, your answer to my question is going to give me the answer right away as to whether we should have a further conversation about, I might have a solution for you. So if you give me a sigh and say, oh man, Jay, my 401k is going nowhere, or you're disappointed and like you can only get less than 0.5% in a savings account at the local bank, then I just diagnosed, you gave me your own answer that you could possibly, be interested in some higher rates of return. And then I could say, then my answer or my follow-up statement of that would be something along the lines of, but I got something you might not have ever heard about. I'm doing these real estate deals. And what's the interesting thing is really not the deals, but it's how I'm getting them funded. I'm paying people insane high rates of return that they are backed by. It's safe and it's secure. Would you be interested in hearing about how you can earn high rates of return safely and securely from what I'm paying all my investors? And if they're interested, great. Now, on the other hand, when I diagnosed and I said, what kind of rates of return are you getting, or how are your investments going? They say, yeah, man, I got 15% last year. I'm not going to even bring up private money. I'm going to say, wow, that sounds great. I want some of that 15%. Where are you getting 15%? So there's no begging, there's no chasing, there's no selling. There's just finding out if there's an opportunity that they might be interested in to earn more money than they are. And then there's private lender luncheons. I've raised $969,000 at one private lender luncheon where I invited 20 people to lunch, had my CPA, my real estate attorney, my realtor, etc. there. Fed them lunch at the nice Dunes Club there at the beach. And I had a 30-minute presentation on what private money is and how my program works and what they can expect in returns. And then I have an interest sheet that I hand out at the end of that luncheon. So, in 90 minutes, I can expose 20 people to it in the same length of time that I could, just one individual. So again, it's all about having the right mindset. And that's it, Mike. New capital raisers ask me all the time. They say, Jay, what do I need to do first? What do I need to do first to start raising capital? First thing you got to do is you got to own the real estate between your ears and get it straight in your mind that you're not chasing people or trying to talk them into anything. You're just offering a possible solution to them earning higher rates of return safely and securely. And you position yourself as the expert. Again, 47 private lenders never heard of this world. And they're just ecstatic that they're earning these kinds of rates of return.
Yeah, Jay, absolutely. I like the starting point. You're asking them the question what they're investing into that's giving them good returns, right? Right. That gets them to open up. Fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people have been doing really well. It's kind of interesting. So the times that approach when they were making 0.5% or 1%, the long gone, right? Most of the banks pay now, let's call them 3.5%, in some cases, 4%. And on the stock market front, on the traditional, the markets have been on a tear. That's exactly what I mentioned earlier. So that's why it's gotten partially harder, because you got to go find those people that complain about not getting good returns. And that's, 1/10 of what it used to be, because when the markets were poor performing, then it's just shifts. It goes with the weather, right? It's a season. This season for capital raising, we are in a deep freeze winter, in a manner of speaking. But the other quick question, I don't know if you ever thought about this. Have you ever talked to your people that invest only traditionally in first lien secured mortgages? Are they open to some commercial real estate opportunities that are not just first lien mortgage? In other words, we're seeing wonderful industrial open air retail deals. And they are, the big difference is this. I've compared and contrast. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I've compared and contrast. Where do you get high income in real estate? There's only primarily two buckets, right? Bucket number one is exactly what you're doing. It's private money, private credit, first lien lending. That's just basically the safest place to be. And you get your yields, let's call them from 8 to 12%, right? They could be a little more, a little less, but I'm using that range. Somewhere around probably 10% on average, plus minus. It's generally secured, and it's generally current income. That's all you get. So if you're investing self-directed IRA money, it's really happy. If you're investing cash, it's taxed at the highest tax bracket because it's current income, right? Interest income is taxed at the ordinary rates. And then you go traditional real estate, owning real estate. And then the deals where you can get really good yield is what we do in industrial and open air retail, because they get bought at the cap rate that is significantly higher than the cost of mortgage. So we use 2% positive difference or positive spread. So if we are buying an industrial property at 8.5% cap rate, that's unlevered rate of return is 8.5. Now you lever it with 6.5% debt or 6.25% debt, you have really strong cash flow. Your cash flow can be often close to the private money, and then you have depreciation shield. Depreciation shields you from taxes for many years. And on top of that, you have some forced appreciation through rent growth, rent escalation clauses. The reason I mention this is, what do you think? I just love to hear, because in my head, private credit is private money is wonderful, but there's something potentially a little better for some folks who can get a little more comfortable with an equity investment. And by the way, the equity investments are very conservatively leveraged, like 65%. It's funny, 65% is a magic number. If you're lending money, you want to be at 65% leverage, because that's what makes it conservative, right? Mm-hmm. And on the other side, if you're an equity player, if you're at 65% leverage, that's also conservative to own a property, because you're not taking too much leverage. What do you think?
I think so. I can only speak to the private lenders that are loaning money for my business and also loaning money to my students across the nation. So all they've been exposed to is the asset backed, what I've been talking about. And the reason it works so well is because it's simple. It's very simple to understand. So would these people be also interested in other opportunities like you're talking about? And the answer is yes, if they can understand it, right? If they can understand it and it's presented simple and the trust relationship is there. That's one reason we get so much money so quickly is we establish the relationships first before pitching a particular deal.
But that's given, by the way. That is given. No like and trust must exist before you can ever raise a dollar. Without it, you can never get a dollar.
That's right. That's right. So as long as that relationship is there, the trust is there, and then they understand how this works, then the pieces are in place.
Yeah, I like how you think. You have an incredibly simple way of thinking, but it's incredibly practical. So it's you build authority, credibility, expertise, you build trust, and then simple solution. The more complicated it is, the harder it is to understand, and confused mind always says no.
Exactly. I was going to say a confused mind never takes action. Well, actually, not doing something is an action.
Well, no, it's an automatic no. I mean, it's kind of funny. Most of us in our lives, we learn the power of no, because you have to be saying no way more often than yes. Otherwise, being a lot of, you would never have enough time around the clock if you keep saying yes to everything. And you would never have enough money if you keep throwing money at everything.
That's right.
So you gotta be very selective in what you do with your time and what you do with the money.
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about your mastermind, your events. You run some events. You have a book. How do people reach out, and what kind of education would they receive when they reach out?
Sure. Thank you, Mike. So I'm going to give everybody listening 3 ways you could take advantage of all 3 for us to connect and for you all to also learn how to raise a lot of private money very, very quickly. So I do this event, and my next one coming up is right around the corner. So when I give out this URL, it's a special URL, and it will give you all the details of the event. So the event is called the Private Money Conference, the Private Money Conference. And I put this event on 3 times a year. The next one is coming right around the corner. And I'll go ahead and give out the URL. So the URL is www.jconner.com/event. And it's a 3-day event. Of course, it's a lot of education on raising private money. But I also do the whole A to Z thing. We do a bus tour where we go out into the field and actually look at the houses and the properties that we're doing, looking at properties that we haven't started the rehab on, look at other properties that we finished and now they're just going on the market for sale. And you meet my team members, how I run this business on automatic in less than 10 hours a week. You meet my realtor, my real estate attorney, my interior designer, my general contractors, and how we all work together to make this business run. Secondly, I teach how to find deals in this very, very tight market where there's very, very little inventory now. And how do you find these deals? I also teach how to sell any house in 3 days or less, never get stuck with a house, and then how to automate this business. It's a $3,000 event, but because you're here on Tempo Funding with Mike, I'm going to give you that link I just gave out. You get to come for a measly $97 registration fee. That's it. And that's to reserve a seat for you and yourself. So again, you can check that out at jconner.com/event. Secondly, I've got a brand new private money script collection that you can download for free right now here immediately. And you can go to www.jconner.com/scripts, jconner.com/scripts. That'll get you the private money script right there immediately. And then my national best-selling book that you referred to, Mike, Where to Get the Money Now. Don't give $20 to Amazon. You can go to jconner.com/book, jconner.com/book. I'll autograph it for you. I'll express mail it to you. And it walks right through how I go about raising private money without ever asking for money.
Jay, thank you for sharing, thank you for the special offers to the audience. But I'll ask you a quick question on one of those things that you mentioned. So how do you sell a house in 3 days? I'm just curious. Of course, if you could price it low, super low, and you could sell it in 3 days. Just give audience a little bit of the color, because it's an interesting topic. Some people get stuck, they overprice, and then nothing happens for a while.
Sure. So this is a program I put together as to where we have a 1 hour sale at the house, and the exit strategy is selling that single family house on lease purchase. So you get to set your price. Price is non-negotiable, and we'll have 30 or 40 people inside the home on that Saturday morning. And they're all applying and, giving over their information. Of course, only one person is going to get it. Sometimes we will actually put the down payment up for bid as well. And so then we force them into credit repair, and we help them get their credit ready for a mortgage. And so then we'll typically cash them out within 12 months or so. So the exit strategy, and the reason it's 3 days or less, is because you only need Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning on Facebook that you're posting this live event on Facebook, and then they show up. We end up having a frenzy of people every time, because almost 80% of the people in America can't even go to the bank today or the mortgage company and get a mortgage, but they want to own a home. So we're giving them a pathway to home ownership.
Yeah, interesting. So you're selling essentially a property that you rehabbed, and you bought it, did a fix and flip on it, and now you need to sell, and you're looking to sell it to the maximum price. And it's interesting that you're selling it on lease, an option to buy, versus having them try to get an FHA loan or VA loan or USDA loan, wherever the property is at.
The reason they're coming to this opportunity is because their credit scores have got to be repaired. They can't even qualify for FHA or VA, but they got money to put down. And most of these homes that we sell like this, we don't even do a full rehab on it, because if that house comes back, I don't want to have to do a full rehab on it again. So a lot of times we'll buy these homes on terms, subject to the existing note, seller financing, and then turn right around these homes and sell them on terms, say, as I said, with lease purchase.
It makes sense. If you locked it up on terms, you could sell it on terms, because you're creating arbitrage essentially. But it's an interesting way to put it. It's not for every property, not for every house, but for certain situations, it can make a lot of sense.
Absolutely, that's it.
Jay, thank you for sharing the book, the mastermind, the events. Any final thoughts? Any final comments? Any good book you recommend other than the book you just recommended?
Sure. Well, one of my favorite newer books, not written by me, is by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And the title of that book is Be Your Future Self Now. Be Your Future Self Now. We heard Benjamin speak, at one of our mastermind meetings, and he was phenomenal. This is a great book for starting to live your future life now.
I guess it's all about changing habits, and whatever you think is going to be the future, you got to start now. And it's kind of funny that you could, in 2 to 3 weeks, you could adopt any habit you want, as long as you make it work. I don't know if that book is that, but I'll probably get a copy and take a read as well. So thank you, Jay.
You'll love it, Mike. You'll love it.
Thank you for coming on a podcast. And we're recording this in spring. Enjoy the spring and the summer.
All right. Thank you so much.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's JCONNER.com/moneyguide. And download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.